Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tracked Before. This time, the Cloud Minders. It sounds mysterious. You've watched it, so you probably know it's not that mysterious, but you're going to hear how we feel about it. We'll hear how you feel about it. Speaking of mysterious, we've got new content, new of that tint, here on the IABD Presents Network, IABDpresents.com. Syndicated Nightmares. Every Wednesday, Syndicated Nightmares takes a deep dive into an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, a horror anthology TV show from the late 1980s based off the Nightmare on Elm Street film series. Don't worry if you haven't seen the show. Host Dave Berman and Michelle Hansen will give a detailed synopsis of every episode before tearing into it like Freddy would to a scared teenager. Rewatch podcast. Who's going to listen to that? Anyway, you are. You're here. And if you dug Freddy's Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm sure you know about Freddy's Nightmares. Hell, I do, and I'm pretty sure I never watched it. Anyway, check that out. Coming out every Wednesday. They started it on Halloween. Get caught up. Also, speaking, it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving coming up. You're going to be sitting around with the family or trying not to sit around with the family. Watch some TV. Avoid those guys. Put in the earphones. Start watching. Who's going to help you? Jerome's Reviews. You can find them at IABDpresents.com also, part of the IABD Presents Network. He's going to tell you, he's the TV critic from Seat 42F. And he's going to tell you, there's so much content out there. He's going to tell you, he'll let you know what's good, what's bad, what's in between, what's ugly. Anyway, check out those reviews. You'll have plenty to get you through the Thanksgiving holiday and keep you awake after all that tryptophan. Jerome's TV Reviews. Also, one last thing, go to patreon.com/IABD, support us, and help us keep entertaining you. And you can figure out how entertained we are by the Cloud Minders here on It's All Been Tracked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tracked Before. Skeleton Crew continues.
These 5-year missions, I tell you. This is Steven.
This is Jimmy-Jerome.
This isn't even a 5-year mission. We're only in the 3rd year.
And we are here to discuss Steven's favorite episode of the original series, The Cloud Minders.
I think I probably like this better than you did, but I think I also came in... It might just be... we're grading on the curve at this point.
I mean, you'd have to think this is any good. I mean, it was no Lights of Zatar, I'll give it that.
No. There were things I found to enjoy. Maybe I'm looking at glass half full. But
so,
we'll get into
first impressions.
Yeah, it's a weird episode. What they all are at this point. I wasn't very excited about this. I think the last couple episodes we talked about this coming up, and I wasn't too excited. I couldn't remember much other than Jeff Corey. And then I saw Droxine, and I started remembering a little more. And I started remembering the troglodytes, because I always thought of troglodytes and all that. But
Zoey's got opinions.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be I thought I was going to not care for it at all. I thought it was okay. Yeah, there were aspects I definitely enjoyed. So yeah, I would say it exceeded my expectations. I don't think it exceeded yours.
There were parts I didn't hate. I wouldn't say there were parts I enjoyed. I think there were some interesting concepts that they lightly touched on briefly.
Yeah, it's a story from David Gerald and another guy who I can't remember, unfortunately. Apologies to whoever that person is.
Writers, Margaret Arman.
Yeah.
And David Gerald and Oliver Crawford.
So this was her, Margaret Arman, I guess this was her tryout to become the new DC Fontana, if you will, story editor.
With just a few episodes left.
Yeah, and David Gerald's story, he created the story, and then he worked on the story with this other fella. But his was much more, as they seem to be when they seem to get... His was a little more... Obviously, it was a haves and have-nots thing. His was a little more pointed, and the story was completely different. So in his story, McCoy ends up beaming down, is much more involved, and so there's the troglodytes or whatever, and he ends up going to a hospital to try and treat people for whatever the sickness.
Okay. And
there's a lot of children there, and he's just appalled at not only the condition of everyone, but especially the children. So he works to help them, and then at the end of the episode, it's similar to this one in that Kirk's got him negotiating or whatever. Mm-hmm. But in Gerald's original version, Kirk's patting himself on the back that, I got these guys to communicate. And McCoy's like, yeah, that's great, but how many children are going to die while we finally negotiate these things? So that's one of my alternative episodes. I think that would have been a more a better episode. Yeah, we get into some of the class stuff, and it's very. It almost feels very of a Maoist, almost very, very communist thoughts, almost.
So I'll talk about the class stuff in a second.
Yeah.
While we were talking to David Gerald, the other episode he wrote for the original series was, of course, The Trouble of Tribbles.
Yeah.
And he wrote 2 animated episodes, Bem and More Tribbles, More Troubles. I'm familiar with Bem. I don't know the storyline, More Troubles, More Troubles. Then Oliver Crawford, who wrote this with him, wrote Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, which we recently watched.
That's
and
right.
the Galileo 7.
Yeah, which all... Galileo 7's good.
Yeah, Galileo 7's pretty good. Margaret Arman has 2 other writing credits before this one. This was her last.
Okay.
She's credited for The Paradise Syndrome.
Okay.
And The Gamesters of Triskelion.
All right.
Which I would say this episode's comparable to The Gamesters of Triskelion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I'm, and again, this is probably recency bias. I think I'm gonna I might like this better than Games.
Really?
I think, maybe.
I disagree, but
it's interesting. The costuming is very similar.
it is. So we'll get back to that class stuff you're talking about. Yeah, we've got Cloud City, which Star Wars totally ripped off, of course.
They literally.
Of course.
I mean, literally.
And then the people in the mines.
Yes.
But for some reason, they couldn't figure out logistically how these people were going back and forth easily.
Yeah.
So they were constantly able to go back and forth. I mean, I guess there was a transport pad. I assume it was kind of like a transporter.
I guess.
But they went back and forth unnecessarily a lot.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest glaring part was at the end when they were ready to deliver the supply. Rather than just take it from the mines where it was.
To the
they
Enterprise.
brought it up to the Cloud City to hand it off, which makes no sense whatsoever. And then like, didn't leave it on the transport pad, like, brought it into the advisor's room.
Well, and that's probably the more money Star Wars had. The Cloud City of Bespin, they had a place, apparently an elevator from the mines all the way up.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I just... yeah, I don't... So we had that. Immediately that brought to mind, like, the Time Machine, H.G. Wells. The intellectually stunted below ground, the intellectuals above ground, that classic duality that's been explored in lots of science fiction.
Yes.
And then so we were told over and over again that the gas in the mines makes the people dumb.
Yeah.
But did you see any difference between the two groups of people? I mean, the one guy was talking very stilted. Other than that,
well, yeah, you had the couple of minutes. I guess the idea was that they resort to violence.
But they weren't supposed to be angry. They were just supposed to be dumb.
And
if the gas made them violent, they would have had an uprising long ago.
What was Midro supposed to be one of the disruptors, one of the people who had been? So he'd been in the cloud for some time.
Yeah.
So I don't think we got.
Lana had too.
Right. So they said she wasn't as affected. So maybe if we'd met some of the other troglodytes that McCoy ran tests on to see that they had 20% less capacity.
First of all, 20%'s not that substantial. I mean, it is, but
we know plenty of people who are operating
20% less than
more than 20%.
Yes. And they operate normally.
They do. They operate.
I just didn't see the effect. And the gas was supposed to be temporary, even after repeated exposure.
Right. Which it was weird because I felt like that cut both ways. Like, yeah, that's why they're not so smart. It's like, what is temporary? It's like, well, which one is it? I mean, that's a logistical tricky one there. And that was one other thing. In David Gerald's original story, there was no like, here, take these filters, problem solved. He was like, and that's why at the end McCoy's like, well, people are going to keep dying. It was a much more serious thing rather than, I feel stupid, kind of a thing. That was not perfect. And I didn't understand how McCoy got a sample of the Xenite up there.
I mean, they talked about Xenite being relatively common, so I assume he just got it from the ship's stores.
Well, I thought he said he got it shipped up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got it from the...
Well, maybe the High Advisor was like, here's a down payment.
Well, he got into the whole refined. Maybe he did have some of that hanging around, but it looked like he had enough. They should have sent that to whatever the planet they were trying to send.
Well, they brought a whole bunch more for the planet.
They did.
Like
it was
5 of those big containers.
Yeah. That's going to cover a planet, apparently.
So, the urgency, they kind of toyed with parts of the episode. It was very urgent.
Right.
Other parts of the episode, like, we got 6 hours.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, this planet planet vegetation is just going to die like immediately when this deadline hits. And also, so they're a member of the Federation of Planets, so they have warp capability on this planet.
Right.
And they don't have a transport ship because apparently this planet was really close that, we got 2 hours, okay, we got time to hop over there. They didn't have a ship. They could just send transport that would be quicker and easier than sending the Enterprise.
Right. I agree. That doesn't make sense.
If they remember the Federation. And I don't know how they remember the Federation with this kind of society. I feel like that would have been a red flag. Except that the more Star Trek develops, the more I think I look at the Federation with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
The ideals are, they're going to be these great equal societies that are enlightened and advanced. But what we see over and over again is members that don't live up to that.
Right.
And the Federation, I mean, we have those episodes where a planet's trying to join the Federation, and because of issues like this, they're banned.
Right.
But then other ones, well, maybe they were just trying to, their membership quota was down for the month, and we're going to rubber stamp them and get them through. Or that ambassador took a little bribe and just passed it on. I mean, we've certainly seen corrupt Federation. So.
Well, and I think it's in the context of the 60s and then geopolitical things we talked about before, kind of a U.S., Russia, and I feel like part of the thing that's trying to come through in this one is, U.S. is in Vietnam. It's like, all right, there's a lot of people that are our allies that aren't necessarily that great, and I think that message is kind of getting in this episode and some other ones where they're members of the Federation, but they're not necessarily one big happy family. Eventually, I think you're right. I think later in the Star Trek progression, we get to more of a unified.
Yeah, I think by next gen times, they've cleaned themselves up.
But I think this one is definitely a product of its time, and
yeah, the Federation's been around for 100 years or so at this point, but it's still basics.
Yeah, so I think
about the U.S. 100 years in. We hadn't figured it all out.
Right.
We were like going into Civil War.
Civil War, yeah. So, yeah.
There was also this weird side plot love story between Spock and Droxine.
Yeah,
I did not fit.
It was two different. Yeah, it was two different episodes, and I was more interested in that than I was in the other stuff.
So I felt like that was the script short. Let's add something in to beef it up.
No, that's possible.
Which I think was more interesting. A lot of this episode felt like that to me. For instance, the very beginning, when Kirk is talking to his bridge officers about the Cloud City versus the Mind. It felt very irreverent conversation. Like this is just a normal day on the bridge.
I thought the talks in this episode were. I thought the conversation was very different. Yeah, and we also have Spock's inner monologue to convey a bunch of information.
Bizarre.
Yeah,
and it was flashback to stuff we'd already seen.
Right.
Except there were some new shots of Vanna without the glasses.
Yeah,
that was weird. And then. Honestly, the whole sequence where Kirk's like, beam him down immediately, and Spock goes to Scotty, hey, they have a big conversation about how it wants to be immediately, which was totally unnecessary. And then they threw in this contrivance about, she's too close, they're going to have to wait, and that just killed another minute of screen time. Yeah. And all of that stuff just felt like they were vamping to fill the hour.
Well, and in my mind, and I'd forgotten how it went, I thought they were going to beam her down too, so we had more Droxine. That would have been much more interesting.
No reason not to.
Would have been much more interesting. As well.
No reason not to. Instead, though, to her credit, she comes to a powerful realization on her own without having to be confronted, where she's like, hey, this stuff's screwed up. I'm shielded. I'm going to go live in the mines.
She didn't have to have it mansplained to her by Kirk or
So I'll give him credit for that. Yeah. That Droxine was a fully developed character who came to realizations without having to be blackmailed or tortured or threatened.
And Vanna,
unlike everybody else.
And Vanna was the leader, essentially, of the Troglodyte. So those aspects, and actually those weird conversations, I like those, just that they were...
I
see what you're saying about it,
because she spent so much time in the cloud, so she was more educated.
She wasn't as dumb.
But yeah, there was just so much of this episode that felt like vamping to me.
It didn't dawn on me. I just noted it as these are weird conversations. And honestly, these are very glib's not the right word, but very almost felt off the cuff.
And I think why it stood out to me so much is I can't tell you another episode of Star Trek where that happened. Normally, things feel rushed.
Yeah.
And this time, it was like, we have half the story here. We're just gonna make it... the season's almost here. We don't have time to look for anything else. Let's just do it.
You might be right. That's a good point. And like I said, I actually enjoyed those parts. I more than...
Okay,
the
so that may be where our differ of the episode.
Yeah.
Where we could... Verge, because that's the parts where I'm like, oh, this is a weak episode.
Yeah,
I can't even
it could be.
come up with an hour-long
Could be.
story.
Yeah, most of my notes are actually about the other stuff, all that stuff, not the actual
Really?
class stuff. But
Yeah, I don't have anything more about the class
Yeah.
stuff. My other episodes are more tiny nitpick things.
yeah,
We should do fashion.
oh yeah, fashion.
So, what do you think? There was a lot of fashion.
Droxine's outfit's tremendous, and so are Vanna has 3 outfits.
Yeah.
Which is pretty.
She's got more than Droxine.
Yeah.
And she shows off just as much skin.
Yeah, apparently Droxine only has 1 outfit.
Yeah.
But it's stunning.
Well, you know, intellectuals don't take the time to think it. You know,
and
they got other things.
you know, I feel like one explains the other. Droxine's outfit explains why Spock was just like, let's talk.
Yeah, that
He was very in touch with his human side. Yeah, and you know, and my original alternate episode besides Gerald's version was a bedroom farce, but then I decided no, this is more because most episodes it's like only one person gets to have a love interest. Mm-hmm. It's either McCoy, Spock, usually Kirk. This one is like, oh, each of the guys get a get. It's like a spring break.
See, I didn't feel like they really went there with Kirk and Vanna. I feel like they teased it briefly.
Yeah, and I was glad it wasn't a romance, but it was more they had their thing and Spock and Droxina.
It felt like that one bit where she first tries to kill him in the slowest murder scene ever, and he waits a long time to stop her. In that scene, he's almost like, you know, I'm finding this enjoyable.
Right.
And she shuts him down. And then for the rest of the episode, it didn't feel like he tried anything again. I thought
he respected
the flirtation was brief and dismissed. I don't think it was a true flirtation.
No, I agree. But which was at least
good.
Because
that was a little creepy.
At that, it was part creepy and it was part... And I noted that I thought Kirk and Bond have that in common. They're often about to get killed by a beautiful woman. But fortunately, they're light sleepers. Then he even mentioned that command makes you sleep light or whatever. So... But at that point is where I decided, oh, this is a spring break kind of 80s guys and girls.
I didn't see that Kirk Vanna thing at all.
No, after that it was not there. And thankfully, because I like the way their relationship went after that.
But yeah, Vanna and Droxine's outfits, because we're still in fashion. We need
sorry.
That's okay. Their outfits were fantastic.
Yeah.
Although caused my wife to exclaim, I didn't realize Star Trek had showed so much skin. She obviously hasn't seen that much.
I think this episode took it to another level as far as the abs we got to see.
They had some nice abs.
There was a lot of ab work.
I also thought it was funny that the Cloud City guards, their uniforms are one size fits all.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how tall you are. The one guy, it almost looked like a miniskirt. And I looked, and I'm like, those are the same size outfits. The one guy's just taller, and that's why it's shorter. I don't know why they can't get a size that fits them.
They looked like they were futuristic chefs. Their weird hats.
I did not like the hats.
No, I didn't either. Dumb. They did not look comfortable.
The high advisor, what was his name? Placis?
Yeah.
He had an interesting...
he looked comfortable.
He looked like a high advisor.
Yeah. But I liked that they gave Vanna a different outfit while she was hanging out in detention.
Of course.
But yeah, I liked all of hers, but Droxina's is... Yeah, it was
Droxine's was the best.
Yeah, that's...
Yes.
Yeah.
And the minor outfit was just very generic stuff we've seen before. Even the glasses were Spock's visor from the other episode.
And I don't know if they brought this on purpose, but we're jumping way ahead. Wrath of Khan. Those guys have the similar visors.
I was just thinking Spock when he...
oh, that's right. In
an early episode.
Yeah.
They also talk about the miners being sensitive to light, and so you assume the visors are for that reason.
Makes sense.
Except then, Vanna wasn't acting sensitive to light the whole time.
No.
She squinted for half a second, and then she's like, okay, I'm fine now. Again, they did not do a good job of illustrating the differences between the two groups.
No, they did. I noted early on, I like long hair Kirk. I like short hair Kirk too, but I like when he's getting the sideburns and the extra hair. I thought the filter mask was interesting. I don't know what the chemicals
granules
were. Yeah, that was weird.
I assume they have to give him refills for this.
They
could have had a nicer, more compact.
Yeah.
And when Kirk wore it was crooked.
Yeah.
Very crooked.
I didn't understand how to wear that. So demerits for that. And I noted that I thought that maybe the reason that Spock was so drawn in by Droxima was also the makeup.
That makeup was cool.
It was.
They said she was a work of art, and they tried to make her look like a work of art. I loved it. I loved that.
Yeah, and we missed it the first time too, but the whole Stratus thing, all they do is art, which I thought was interesting.
So, they first beam up to the Cloud City, and they're in an art gallery apparently.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, that artwork's destroyed because the knife's in it." Which, first of all, it was just a knife. It was like a whole wall-sized thing.
Right.
But then in Kirk's room, I'm like, "Oh, there's a print of it because it was the same pattern."
Right.
But then the torture thing had the same pattern. The beam they held.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so that's just the stone of the place. Well, not stone because the knife cuts through it, but something. Some fabric, something common. And so the art must have just been the thing that was like on the wall.
The thing next to it,
But then the knife wasn't in that.
It was just against the wall.
The knife was in the background.
Right.
That is on everything else.
You could just spackle that.
Yeah, so the knife didn't destroy anything.
Yeah.
So that whole thing about artwork being destroyed, and plus, if you were destroying artwork to make a point, you'd do more than just stick the knife in the wall.
Right.
So again, no, doesn't make sense.
No.
Nonsensical.
Yeah, fair enough. I also like, while we're talking about the torture device, the Federation does not condone torture.
Of course not.
Or waterboarding. So that was...
I mean, enhanced interrogation, talk to the lawyers, but torture, no.
Yeah.
Oh god, no. Would you like the fighting with the leather lassos?
You know what? I actually liked that first fight a little bit. It went on too long.
So the first fight, the whole thing, I was just focused on the lassos.
Yeah.
I thought they were interesting when they brought them out.
I was impressed they were able to get... They nailed it with what they're very adept with it.
They were also
very
had
proficient.
the element of surprise.
That's
they
true,
weren't noticing.
too. That's true.
So they had all their time to line up. But then, as they go to commercial break and come back, Kirk and Spock are just kind of tugging a little bit, like almost a little half-hearted tug of war, which didn't make sense.
Right.
And then they start fighting, and Kirk's guy's still holding on to his, but he doesn't, yank it at all. And, Spock's is still around him for most of the fight. I'm like, just grab the belt and pull it. Quit trying to punch him.
And I thought we'd see a nerve pinch.
No.
And then I thought, and they didn't do it, but I thought Kirk was going to go to punch her and then be like, oh, I can't punch a woman, but he just decided he had her under control. But yeah, I actually kind of like that first fight, although it went on too long. Also, this is jumping ahead a little too, but Fred Williamson played one of the troglodytes. He would soon be in...
Anka.
Yeah, he will soon be in MASH, soon after this, as Spear Trucker Jones. And then went on to do plenty of blaxploitation films. He was a pro football player and a great college player. So there's no way, even with Spock's Vulcan strength, that either one of those guys could beat Fred Williamson. But they can beat Anka or whatever.
He's still very active.
Yeah, he's got
80 a ton of credits from this year, last year, stuff coming up.
Yeah, I always liked Fred Williamson. I think if Fred Williamson was around now, when he came out in the 60s, he'd have been The Rock. He'd have been that guy. He's always a guy I always liked in the things he did, and I wish he had more opportunities to spread out. But obviously he's still working, so he's doing all right.
We should talk about our other guest stars while we're on that train. So we had Jeff Corey, who played Placis.
Yeah, great character actor. He
236 credits. No, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Butch Cassidy
was around the same time.
The original True Grit.
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff. I mean, he looked very familiar to me.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. And that was the one thing I can remember on this episode was Jeff Corey. And knowing that he was in Butch Cassidy.
I thought he did fine.
I did too. I thought,
The part didn't give him a lot of range.
I liked him better than a lot of the irascible Commodores, Planet Leaders, or whatever, and all that stuff. But
I mean, the only time he didn't seem authentic was when, at the end, he and Kirk are just like, let's just forget everything happened.
Right.
Which was a stupid cop-out. But other than that, he seemed like...
I liked when he said, this communication has ended. And that ended the communication. I'm going to use that from now on.
And then, funny enough, Vana was played by Charlene Polite.
Yeah.
Which I thought the last name was funny because she was anything but polite. She only has 11 credits.
Yeah, she didn't do a lot. I really liked her in this episode.
And then, of course, your favorite, Droxine was played by Diana Ewing.
Ewing, yeah.
Who, besides this, was known for The Way We Were, Mission Impossible, and Police Story.
Yeah, she did a lot of TV. And
she only has 26 credits.
Yeah.
Apparently she's still alive.
Yeah.
From Hawaii.
Yeah.
She didn't look tan enough to
The
be
last
from
thing
Hawaii.
I saw was that I think her husband, they were doing eco tours. And that might not be right now, maybe in a few years.
her last time DB credits 1977.
Yeah.
So she did a lot of other stuff. Man, I hope you guys like hearing Zoey. You're going to have lots of her this episode. As she gets older, you get to hear the evolution of her
That's
speech.
right.
As you go through here. Also, I thought it was interesting, Sulu was totally in a bridge shot that might have been reused from another episode, but he was not credited at the end and had no lines.
Yep. And Uhura Uhura had a couple moments.
Uhura and Scotty were credited for this episode. Sulu was not. So I thought that was interesting.
see what else. We looked at the Cloud City and the new and the old effects. Looked much better now.
Much better
the
than
new
new.
ones were great.
The Enterprise, of course, looked much better. The guy jumping to his death looked much better. I mean, he didn't look good, but it looked better.
One thing, yeah.
And the same thing, the Cloud City didn't look like modern special effects.
No.
But it looks like an updated version of the 60s.
Yeah, it did look cool.
Much
Also,
more detailed.
one other thing I read that was that the view of the planet below that they were looking at was actually from a picture that the Gemini 4 astronauts took of Yemen from space when they were doing one of the first go-rounds of the planet. So that was kind of cool. They worked that in.
Oh, one thing about Plassus, that performance that I did not like, but I assume it was a director thing, not the actor choice. But he was beamed down to the mines, right? Mm-hmm. And then the first thing we see of him in the mines, he's like, "It's been an hour," and he's like furious. And you're like, that's the Furious you'd see when he beams down. Not an hour later.
Right.
An hour later, he'd be tired and resigned.
Right. Yeah, they were like, well, we want to get him down there, but we want to make sure enough time passes that we can say the gas is having an effect. So, yeah, exactly.
But I didn't, maybe it was a gaseous effect. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I just thought, how did he maintain that level of anger for an hour? That's exhausting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess they could have had him beam down, be angry, and then had time pass with some kind of voiceover, but yeah, I thought that's what
more
they tried to do.
Spock using with flashbacks.
Yeah, and random people showing up. I also appreciated that the Plastus said, "It's already been an hour of your Earth time." Yeah, as everyone knows, it's listening to this. I'm always concerned about what hour we're talking about.
Speaking of Earth time and the way you mentioned Wrath of Khan earlier, that line, "Hours can be centuries just as words can be lies," made me think of, is it Wrath of Khan?
Yeah.
Where days feel like hours or whatever. I love that bit.
It's one of my favorites.
And so that's just like, oh, okay, somebody did a better job with that later.
Hours instead of days. Now we have minutes instead of hours.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, of course. That's all the notes I had. I didn't have much. I didn't think of an alternate episode yet. I'll think of it.
Okay. All right. I've got a few others. Not a ton.
And I'll pretend I always had one.
Nobody ever uses blankets on the Enterprise or in the Star Trek universe. They just sleep on top of them. I guess that's why Kirk's a light sleeper. But I can't remember an episode where anybody was was shown in their quarters trying to sleep and was actually under the blanket.
So the explanation for that, at least as of some of the novels I've read, is that you can set your quarters to the exact temperature you want. So there's no reason to use blankets because you just set it for what's comfortable. But to me, I love blankets, so I would set it too cold just so I could use blankets. So you use a blanket.
That makes sense. That does make me think like 2001, whenever they went to sleep, they didn't have blankets in that either. So maybe the future, we don't have blankets.
I'm resisting that trend. I thought of my alternate episode.
Oh, there you go.
So they beam up to Cloud City and Lando Calrissian's there. And then they take him into dinner, but instead of Darth Vader, it's Vanna.
This deal just keeps getting
black
worse.
cape and helmet. See, I threw in a Star Wars reference. You're welcome.
There's the part where Spock talks about Pon farr with Joxima, and when I was reading, some people were complaining that he wouldn't do. He earlier he didn't want to talk to anyone about it. He's talking to her about it.
She brought it up.
I just think, you know what? I think, I will say this. I like that they didn't play a lot of sweet music when the two of them were talking.
Theme? Yeah. They didn't play Ruth's theme.
Yeah, they didn't play Ruth's theme. So I thought that was nice. And they just let their body language, and they talked and looked at each other, create some tension. I actually really like that. But my theory was we've all met somebody and he's like, I'm really into this person immediately, so I'm gonna give Spock this. And of course, she was ready to meet anybody different from the people on Stratus. But
it's not like he elaborated and told them all their secrets.
Right,
like
he
could have said, "Hey, yeah, my mother's human.
Right.
Yes, our drive is every 7 years, but we can have sex in between." He didn't. He didn't go into
right. And when she asked about his planet, he didn't get into a ton of detail about that.
I believed it.
So,
I thought it was still reticent Spock, even if he opened it slightly.
Yeah. Some of the people compared this Metropolis with the whole people below, people above thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's, as you were mentioning, there's plenty of other similar things like that.
Stuff that predates this, too. Not just stuff that's ripped off Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, H.G. Wells reverse ripped off Star Trek. But
when they beam down and Vanna is... Kirk's trying to explain the filter to her and how it would work, and she's just getting madder and blah, blah, blah. And she's kind of making this point that maybe the gas affects them quite a bit. Kirk's use of the phaser to bring the rocks down and completely perfectly shut off the...
Yeah, that was dumb too.
That's impressive. I mean, that's a good shot.
I mean, the way it fell, like, it just felt like they were dropping rocks in front of it anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cave collapse.
No. And we've talked about this before, I think, but the way they were able to pinpoint transport the counselor and all that. It's like some episodes it seems like they can't get a good read on everybody. They can't get a fix on them. And this one they had no problems. So maybe it's the atmosphere, or maybe it's because they were in the cloud city. It was much closer. I don't know. But the other thing I thought, and I didn't write this down, was and we've talked about this in many episodes. So you've got the cloud city and you've got the troglodytes right below them, and that's the whole planet.
Yes.
There's nobody else on the entire planet.
As usual. The whole planet's in one little
The rest
spot.
of the planet is uninhabitable.
Right. And that's not a very big city.
No, it looks smaller than Bestman. Diplomatic bomb. I just like that term. I think it was Spock the one you said that Kirk was probably applying his usual diplomatic bomb. I thought I like that term. Finally, this is just, I think we kind of already talked about this, but the Midra or whatever, kind of like, it was so like, stupid me, dummy, I ain't gas, I am an idiot kind of thing. They started to get there, and then she sent him off or whatever. But and I understand they only had 48 minutes or 50 minutes to get it across that these guys were affected by the Xenite. But yeah, so that's all I had. I didn't have a ton of stuff.
Yeah, this was not an episode that gave us much to talk about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, once you get past, like I said, the things I liked the most were the outfits, and I can't even, I'm making a good excuse for it. The ladies look great. I enjoyed Spock and Droxina's conversations. I enjoyed Vanna being, I guess for lack of a better term, the equal of Kirk. I mean, and being a leader.
Appreciated that.
And maybe that's and like I said, I enjoyed some of the off the cuff weird remarks. It didn't even dawn on me that like, oh, we're killing for time here. Yeah. We're killing for time, and they weren't even. The other thing about them was that they weren't necessarily even like the cutesy funny banter, which I usually don't like anyway. It was just more of a, hey, we're hanging out. How's it going? Yeah. I still liked it. I still like those parts. But.
Well, I'm glad you did. So now we got to figure out where we're ranking this episode.
Yeah.
Let's start with another episode by one of the same authors, The Paradise Syndrome.
I'd go below.
Good.
Yeah.
Spectre of the Gun.
Spectre of the Gun is always going to be a weird one for me because in listening to the previous podcast, you're starting to convince me a little bit that I shouldn't hate it as much as I do, but maybe not hate's. Well, no, hate's right. I would go below Spectre of the Gun, but I would. I would probably go above, but I wouldn't argue with going below though.
Okay, I would go below.
Yeah.
Let's look at what's next, and we'll say.
Yeah.
Mark of Gideon.
Oh, I'd put this above Mark of Gideon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would not.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
It might be. Keith, when are you getting coming back?
For now, I'm going to put it... No, it's not going to be for now, because who are we kidding? We're not going to change it.
What's below Mark and Gideon?
Whom Gods Destroy.
Ugh.
I'll go ahead in a compromise spot and put it above Mark of Gideon, below Spectre of the Gun.
Okay, I can't make a strong argument, but we're in a weird... It's a very fluid area there.
Yeah, I mean, I would have it even lower, but it sounds like you would have it a little higher, so let's just put it there as a compromise position.
That's sure.
I mean, I don't think it belongs at the very bottom. It's no Lights of Zetar.
No.
I will have to say I actually enjoyed Spock's Brain. I would probably put this between Spock's Brain and Lights of Zetar.
Wow.
Like next to last.
Wow.
If it was just me. But I don't care.
Did we put Lights of Zetar at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, we did.
Lights of Zetar is bottom.
Okay.
Spock's Brain's above it.
What's above Spock's Brain?
And The Children Shall Lead.
Oh, yeah. That's
bad.
deserved.
Yeah, I would... Okay, so Spock's Brain and In the Children Shall Lead are just bad.
Yeah.
This one, I just felt like they weren't trying and they were vamping. And that's what makes me... I would rather you swing big and go bad than you don't even try. And I didn't feel they were trying.
Fair. And I think David Gerald would agree that because obviously the script he wrote was a lot, or
yes.
the story he had was a lot different. I think this is why I like it better. Is I actually like the deviation, the
He likes the vamping,
the diversions, if you will. I wanted more Droximo and Spock, and more of Spock's inner monologue.
I did not want either of those things. So, okay. Compromise position, I let you put it much higher. I am going to make a note that if Keith has some argument, we may revisit that.
Yeah, we should have Keith come in on some of these.
We'll see if he revisits. We already have Tholian Web and let that be tied until he makes the
okay.
Keith has obviously been gone a long time, but that's because he was working on other stuff.
That's
He'll
right.
be back soon.
That's right.
He has not abandoned us. Not like other co-hosts that have come and then disappeared. He will be back. Hopefully very, very soon. And now we need men, women of Star Trek.
You know, I thought going in for sure, and as the episode started, it was going to be Droximo, but Vana. I like Vana. Yeah.
See, I thought...
She won me over.
I thought as the episode started, it was going to be Vana.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I'm not really into blondes.
Right.
I prefer brunettes. And Vana had brains on her head, and she was tough. However, the more it went on, the less I liked her. I found her annoying.
Okay.
I found her not willing to think through things. When she betrayed Kirk, that was kind of it for me. And then Droxine at the end, coming in with that last minute, ooh, I'm going to go down and change my life because I'm smart and I want to... That, for me, won me over. So I'm going with Droxine.
Either way, one of them was going to be my new one.
I mean, two great women characters.
Yeah.
I mean, they honestly are the high points of the episode.
They are.
The two of
those
they really are.
They really are.
And not just for their beauty, the actual characters are really well developed.
And I like that we had, and maybe we only had one of those moments with her and her dad. I guess we had a couple with her and her dad and her and Nirvana where Kirk and Spock and none of the Enterprise are around. I did like that too. And again, it's probably because of the actresses, their characters.
Yeah. So, that's where it's going to be. Next week, we'll be talking to Savage Curtin. Sorry, I mispronounced that word. Kirk, Spock, Abraham Lincoln. let me try to finish reading the synopsis. And Vulcan legend Surak are pitted, which is kind of like the Vulcan Abraham Lincoln, obviously. Yeah. Are pitted in battle against the notorious villains from history for the purpose of helping a conscious rock creature's understanding of a concept he doesn't understand, good versus evil. I used to just remember Abraham Lincoln, but then when we were watching the DVD go to come up and I saw a shot of this, I was like, God. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for that, but there might be some laughs. I will. So I don't think I've seen this one. I'm looking at the historical villains. Genghis Khan. Who's Colonel Green? He's one of those futuristic bad guy or villains. Future history. Yeah, from. I think he's like a genocidal guy from the future. In the future. So I'm looking. He was a militia leader. I guess we should have saved this for next week. That's okay. We're going to talk about now. We may talk about some more next week. That's right. But he was a leader during World War III. Okay, yeah. Which is our future. All right. And they did, he was cast in Star Trek Enterprise. There's an actor that played him. Oh, okay. And we'll actually see, he was being active during the Eugenics Wars. Yes. He was a British colonel who helped Khan, Noonien Singh, invade Australia. Nice. So he was featured in a TNG novel where they were talking about that. He was in a TOS novel. He was in Next Gen RPG books. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of novels actually. Wow. And then in the Enterprise episode, it doesn't say whether they see him. He'd be dead by then. But the actor is credited for a couple of Enterprise episodes as this character. So it's clearly somebody we're going to revisit in depth. Who's Zora? I think she's a Klingon. Maybe not. This is the Klingon. Yeah, that's right. I was saving him for last because. So Zora is an alien, monstrous. Okay. Dr. Zora conducted gruesome experiments on the body. They was the species was dealt with in an episode of Enterprise. Okay. Even though we have not. We also, Dr. Severin in The Way to Eden was a Tiborian. So it's from his race. Okay. So, revisiting somebody we had just seen. There's also Tiborian in DS9, so that comes back as well. But that's interesting that they take an alien from a recent episode we've seen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Collis, who is a character in TNG and DS9.
Okay.
Well, his clone. Spoiler.
Gotcha.
Spoiler, they bring Collis back from the dead.
Okay.
They think the legendary Klingon, then they realize it was a clone they made of him. But
Gotcha.
Collis does live again in the 24th century.
This episode seems more interesting the more we talk about it, but I'm
pumped.
I'm still skeptical.
I think it's going to be terrible, but
I completely forgot about the rock creature, too. The rock creatures...
Is it a Horda?
No, it's a different kind of...
Okay. Well, anyway, I mean, I think it's going to be awful, but I'm still pumped because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about.
I think I have...
Unlike
yes.
this one. So...
What, are we down to the last 3?
We've got 3 left.
Okay. All those yesterdays and Turnabout Intruder.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I know, for us, it's been like 8 weeks since we recorded one of these. Yeah. It's been so long.
Right.
But for you guys, it's only been a week.
Yeah.
And next week will only be one more week.
Yeah.
So,
get ready for Rock Creature. And Abraham Lincoln.
And only 3 episodes left. So if you're hating this as much as I am at this point.
I am not hating it as much as I thought I would. But my bar was very, very low. It's surpassed my low bar.
Okay, well, then that's it. I guess until then, don't fall off any cloud cities.
Stay away from Xenite and live long and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?